Tuesday afternoon. And this one, In Your Wildest Dreams. Justin also released a great solo record last year. It's called Spirits of the Western Sky. This Thursday at 8 o'clock, you can see one of the most prolific songwriters of modern music play selections through the history of his catalog at the Neptune Theater. To purchase tickets, call 877-784-4849 or just go to our link at bobrivers.com or stgpresents.org. Justin Hayward, welcome back to the Bob Rivers Show. Hi, Justin. How you doing?
Bob, yeah, good morning. Thank you for that lovely introduction and build-up there.
Well, you make it easy with your fine, illustrious career.
You're very kind.
All right. Well, welcome. And now you've been through Seattle. We've been through this area, and you guys have toured and just had an expansive catalog and career. This is a little. Is this a little different for you to do this solo thing at the Neptune Theater?
Yeah, very different. I'm bringing out all my guitars from home, all my acoustic guitars, and from the studio. They've never been out for before, so it's a shock for them. But
so they're touring. Your guitars are touring.
They're touring,
and you're their caretaker. You're their roadie.
Exactly.
Yeah,
you've got it. But so it's an acoustic setting with just me and a young Englishman called Mike Dawes, who is the most amazing player and worth the price of admission just to see him. You want to. His style is very particular. A lot of harmonics and anyway, he's well into my music, and so I met him about a year ago and got on really great. And it's just a great combination. And on keyboards, I have Julie Reagans, who is it takes care of all the keyboard stuff and backing vocals as well. So it's as it was in my music room kind of thing when I wrote these songs, Bob. That's the feel of it.
Wow. And now, forgive me if I sound too much like a gushing fan, but you, with the hits that you wrote and created, you shaped a progressive sound and used different instruments. You used the mellotron. You created a feeling, an orchestral feeling in music that few did at the time. And so you're saying you actually did it in a little writing room, and that you ended up going into the production and making it this huge, monstrous band. So we're going to get a peek into what it was like to create these songs.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think I've been lucky enough always to be with labels that, first of all, with Decca in the 1960s with the Moody Blues, that never expected Days of Future Past. Was that the name of a new X-Men film, by the way?
Yeah, how much you make doing that?
They paid you for that, right?
I had a lawyer call me a couple of weeks ago, and just someone I knew vaguely, and said, "Hey, do you want to do something about that?" And I said, "No, I'm going to leave that alone." They go back in the past in that movie, so maybe they did get there first.
That's funny.
To that title, but
you don't want to be tied up. Are you saying you don't want to be tied up in a lawsuit with them?
God forbid. No, yeah. But I kind of think we got to the title first, so I'm going to take it as a compliment.
As opposed to ripping you off. Hey,
No.
You're very happy with how well you've done, right? We've talked to Graham before, and you guys seem to just be thrilled at how wonderful everything went. You don't have any anger about we were mistreated or we didn't get into the Hall of Fame or any of that.
No, not really. I think our only problem was that we were kind of naive in business, so we took, we took some lousy deals at the beginning that stay with you all through your career. You don't realize when you're a kid that these things sign, for lifetime of copyright. But the lucky thing with us was that we were always with labels that gave us our freedom and never had a kind of A&R guy standing over us telling us what to do.
Right.
And the success of Days of Future Past took everybody by surprise, not least the record company, certainly us. And but I think it just coincided with the way radio was going in America, and they needed good quality stereo things to put on the radio, and
it stands up today. Let me ask a little about what you sort of hinted at. So, how did you write these songs back then that became such big productions?
I would really in the early days I would come home from gigs just kind of sitting on the side of the bed or something, and I mean when I wrote Nights, I was living with Graham actually in just a 2-room apartment with our 2 girlfriends. I just came home one night and and wrote the basic song. And
what instrument did you use? Was it you and a guitar? And
yes, on a 12-string guitar. So
right.
I play guitar and I play keyboards. So it's either one of those two.
Now, do you start strumming it and singing it, making up the words, or do you write the words down? Like, how does a song like that flow out of you?
I'm not going to quote the old songwriters thing where they say what comes first, the words or the music, and they say the phone call. But but really, I'm a guitar player. I started as a guitar player when I was a kid, and so it comes out of that guitar. And I find that I think Picasso said, inspiration has to find you working. So if I put my mind to it, something will happen. And so I get some kind of groove out of the guitar, and then I get a handle on a few lines, and then I get the subject matter and work from there.
With Nights in White Satin, I always thought it was about Camelot, and then somebody else told me, oh, no, this was based on chess. And then I heard, no, it was about his bed sheets. Justin was writing about these
He said it was on the side of the bed.
Satin bed sheets. What was it about?
Well, all 3 of those.
Yeah, it's whatever you want it to be, Joe.
Also,
I was at I was 19 years old, just coming on 20, and I was at the end of one big love affair, the beginning of another. That kind of stuff is all I had in my life at that moment. I didn't have any stuff to look after. I just had relationships, and yes, a girl had given me one of the girls had given me some white satin sheets, which were very romantic but terribly impractical if you had quite a heavy beard growth like I have. Yes, it was all of that kind of stuff. And I must say, I played it to the guys the next day with a view to doing it with in our stage show, because we were playing it on stage a long time before we recorded it. And they were pretty nonplussed. But Mike had an instrument. Our keyboard player had an instrument called the mellotron, and he said, "Play it again." So I went, "Nice and White." Suddenly went da 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 da
right
on this instrument called the mellotron, and it started to make sense for everybody. And then we
was
recorded it first, actually, for the BBC, a long time before we made the record.
So yes, there were sheets. But really, when you're writing prog rock, you're attempting to write lyrics that can mean multiple things, right?
I suppose so. But I often I find that distance gives me a better perspective on my own lyrics, and sometimes I have no idea what I'm writing or the specifics of what I'm writing at the time. But I can look back a couple of years later and see it very clearly. That's a curious thing.
Right.
But this the Spirits of the Western Sky album is about people that I know and people that I'm falling in and out of love like a silly old fool still.
What's your favorite song on Spirits of the Western Sky?
I like this song, actually, which is called The Western Sky, because it relates back to when I was a child growing up with my brother, and we lived in this big house on the edge of a town in the West Country, and we lived in this room at the back of the house. My brother and I shared this room where we had this vast window of the western sky, and we would dream that our heroes were, as kids, we loved Elvis and Buddy and the Everlys, and we would dream that our heroes were out in that western sky. And I was the one lucky enough to come here and come to Seattle and come to America, only a few years later, and to visit Lubbock in Texas and Tupelo, Mississippi, and Nashville and all of those places. But and then we had the Beatles, and life changed. Then suddenly we were cool in London, so that was great.
When you when the Beatles and the heyday and all of those songs, were you like? Did you live the rock and roll life? Did you get caught up in the trappings of being a rock star, or did you always like the quiet, simple life?
Do you know that we in London it was a small community, really. That swinging London thing was probably only about 200 or 300 people, And I certainly was caught up in the trappings of what people were smoking and
taking that stuff, sure.
Taking,
yeah.
yes.
For a while.
I didn't have any money, so I couldn't. The rest of the trappings were a bit out of my league.
Out of your price. So the Bentleys there were some of the trappings, but that was a little too expensive.
That certainly was. That was not for me, but we followed the Beatles into transcendental meditation. Me, Mike, and Ray, went to the Maharish's place and did the whole thing, and we loved all of that.
Do you still say? Does that still sort of guide you today to relax and meditate and separate yourself from all of the competitiveness of hit music and all of that?
Well, wouldn't it be nice if that was the case? But you have to kind of live a double life, and the things that the parts of my life that are to do with my own faith, they, I suppose they are separate, but they overlap everywhere. But it's still a vicious business, and it's a very strange business, the music business. It's full of kind of innocent musicians and a load of old villains on the other side
that hire you.
Yeah, two boys who are trying to help it along and see the good and always bring the good out of it, which is very nice. But it's the strangest business you will ever see, the music business. It really is.
Speaking of the business end of it, I don't know if you heard the X-Men put out a movie, Days of Future Past. You may want to call their. I don't know. Hey. The Knights in White.
Don't even think about it.
The Knights in White Satin story. I had always heard that was true. I'm glad you put that to rest. Is it safe to say that Tuesday afternoon was written on a Tuesday?
Yeah. Did you write that Thursday, but Tuesday just sounded better?
No, I didn't. We knew that we were writing this stage show about the sort of our rather pretentious idea was we would write a stage show about a day in the life of one guy, or part of our set would be like that little story. And so I kind of put my hand up and claimed the afternoon, and I went back to my parents' house in the West Country, and it was a Tuesday, and I also had a dog called Tuesday, and I just wrote that song. Yes, Tuesday did sound right, and it was a Tuesday.
And you had a dog named Tuesday.
Yeah, I could have caused it Saturday afternoon, but it wouldn't have scammed.
Well, Chicago had Saturday in the park.
Saturday in the park,
yeah.
Sure.
So you got to pick a name.
Monday was taken.
I don't like Mondays.
Yeah.
There's so many other. Every other day of the week, every other day of the week
yeah,
is fine.
Friday is a big favorite.
Yeah, that's right.
Writers.
Well, Justin. All right, we're gonna play your Western Sky song as bumper music when we're done with the show here today. Here's a little taste of Tuesday afternoon.
It doesn't matter to me, chasing the clouds away.
Now, this is the 50th anniversary of the Moody Blues. What does a rock star want on his 50th anniversary?
To hope that the promotion guy gets it right. That's about it.
Just to continue on doing what you do and loving it.
That's you've summed it up in a few words there. Yes, my ambition is to continue doing what I want. It's a joy to play. It's wonderful to be with great musicians as I am now, and to still be with the band, and the people will come out. And the most valuable thing I think I can do is to try and create some kind of atmosphere and a little bit of magic in a place, and so that we can all share that, and that's a wonderful thing to be able to share. So that's the one thing I want. I want it to continue as it is.
The songs you have written will continue for hundreds of years. This is classical music in the purest sense. How would you feel after you guys have played your last show and you're done as the Moody Blues, which by no means is going to be anytime soon? You're all booked for this year. But how would you feel about a band specifically carrying on the tradition of this music and performing it for maybe decades to come?
Or a hologram of you?
Well, people love the music of their youth. So as long as people of my age are around, it'll live. What'll happen after that, I don't know. But I know that when I was a lad, you know, from the age of about 8 onwards, as soon as I heard Buddy Holly, that's all I did. I just played his songs, and I could do a whole set of Buddy Holly songs now. So that's no problem, you know. So if just some of our music survives like his has, that'll be wonderful.
Justin Hayward. See, a very special night. It's Justin Hayward, singer-songwriter, guitarist, Moody Blues, with some very special musicians, doing a acoustic gig at the Neptune. That's this Thursday at 8 o'clock. If you want any ticket information, go to bobrivers.com. Wonderful talking with you, Justin.